Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon Arizona and Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. I am proud to be sponsored by BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. I'll put that down in the description. They are an online counseling company. They can find you a counselor here in the U.S. If you are outside of the U.S., all you got to do is go on to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out the questionnaire, and then they will put you with somebody here in the U.S. If you are here in the U.S. and you don't like your counselors in your city and you don't want to have to drive, millions of miles to get to another counselor, get on to BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez, and they will put you with somebody in your state licensed, either master's level or PhD level. And the beautiful thing of it is they're very affordable. So for a package of 4, it works out to like 4 sessions. It works out to like $65 a session, which is amazingly affordable. So anyway, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. All right, kids. Diving into some questions. How do I stop feeling guilty when I don't help the abuser, when I don't help the person who's been enmeshing me? So guilt, fear, obligation, and guilt are what are used by abusers. So they use that to keep us trained and to keep us doing the helping, enabling behavior. So anytime any relationship makes you feel fearful, obligated, or guilty, fog, that's your clue that this is a toxic relationship. So you basically want to write a goodbye letter to the guilt. Dear guilt, bleep the bleepity bleep bleep out of bleeping bleep you. I have nothing to feel guilty about. I refuse to feel guilty about, not jumping or asking how high when my abuser says jump. I refuse to play this game anymore. I'm not going to do it. Thanks for playing. Bye-bye. And get it out of your head. You have nothing to feel guilty about, really, truly. So anyone who tries to make you feel fearful, obligated, or guilty, it's a toxic relationship. Be gone, be gone, be gone. So don't feel guilty. You have nothing to feel guilty about. Okay. What do you make of enmeshment combined with neglect? Well, that's common. So enmesh. You don't do what I want. I'm going to neglect you. I'm going to give you the cold shoulder. I'm not going to feed you. I'm not going to whatever. It's a weird, it's like the intermittent positive rewards. I love you. I love you. I love you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Love, 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 hate, 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 love, hate, love, hate, love, hate. So they're either here or they completely ignore you. And that's the cold shoulder. That's the stonewalling. And it is a form of coercion. It is a form of abuse. So they do that to get us to comply with whatever it is they think they want. So yeah, that is absolutely common. Okay, I love your show. I'm asking about my vocation. I found it is hard and I always think outside, especially my mom's opinion. My dad has BPD. My mom has codependency. So I think I'm going to do a whole show on this at some point. So basically, when we come out of an abusive relationship, it's really hard for us to find ourselves because we've either been told who and what we are and what we like, what we don't like, or, you're going to do this, or you have to fulfill my destiny. You need to, so for example, in my family, my dad was the last of 8 generations of lawyers, and he desperately wanted my brother to become a lawyer. And my brother is not that kind of person. He's more mechanical. He's more interested in how things work and not in the law. So, and of course, all the rest of us were girls, and he couldn't fathom a female becoming an attorney. So, he constantly put that pressure onto my brother about, well, you've got to be an attorney, you've got to be an attorney, you've got to be an attorney. And it's like, he's not an attorney, Dad. Honestly, it would have been better if one of my sisters and I had gone into law, because we have that kind of thinking. So, so we don't know who we are. We don't know what we want. And it's ridiculous, at least in our society, in American society, that they look at 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds and go, okay, pick out what vocation you want to do for the rest of your life. At 16 or 17 or even 18. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, and it's stupid to think that, a person is going to stay with one career throughout their whole lives. Now, that might have been the case, I don't know, back in Victorian times, but not now. It's like I worked as an actress, I worked as a hairdresser, and then I went into counseling, realizing, yeah, this is what I want, this is what I like. And it took me that long to figure out who I am, to figure out what I wanted to do, and not care about anybody else's opinion as to what they thought I should be doing. So, because my dad was, oh, you should be a secretary. You should be a secretary. And I'm just like, I don't want to be a secretary. I'm sorry, not my thing. So, you've got to find yourself. And I think I want to do a whole show on finding yourself. How do you find yourself, especially after narcissistic abuse or just in general? So how do you know what you like? How do you know what you don't like? And I think it's really important, no matter what you do, no matter what the question is, whether it's a vocational question or whether it's what do I want for dinner, the first question has to be, what do you want? What do you want? Not what your mom wants, not what your dad wants. What do you want? And then do that. So, and that's hard to do because we've been trained, again, to be codependent, to kowtow to the abuser, to give in, to make sure other people are okay, and we don't look after our own wants, needs, desires, etc. And we need to. We absolutely need to. So yeah. So I am going to do a whole show on that, and I hope that answered the question. Okay. Can you please explain the C in CPTSD and complicated grief? Okay. Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So the C means that it happens over and over and over and over. It's complex. It's kind of like a compound fracture. It's like not only is your bone broken, it's sticking out of your leg. Not only have you been through abuse, it happened every damn day. So in PTSD, it's like a one-time event. It's like a one-time life-threatening event that you either have happened to you or that you have witnessed. So it's a one-time event. But with complex, it's happened over and over and over and over and over and over and over, maybe in different ways, but it's all the same thing. It's all a way of harming you. So that's what the C stands for in complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It just happens over and over and over and over again, different ways, but it happened on a daily basis. Especially if you were raised with an abuser, you didn't get a break from it. I know for me, it's like every single day was, oh my God, what's he going to do now? What's going to happen now? How is this person going to come unglued now? So it was constantly walking on eggshells every day, every day, every day, every day. So it's complex. It happens over time. Different every day, but abusive every day. So there's that. Complicated grief. So what complicated grief is, normal grief is pretty straightforward. You loved somebody, they died, and now you are grieving their loss and having to move them into a different spot in your heart, in your mind, etc. So that's grief, okay? Getting through all the firsts, the first Memorial Day, July, 4th of July, Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, birthday, anniversary, Easter, etc. Anniversary of the death. That's a grieving process. That's normal grief. That takes a year. Victorians had it right on that. They had a lot of other things wrong, but they did have grieving right, a year and a day, because you have to get through all the firsts, and then you have to get through the anniversary of the death. So, and there's no mixed feelings about the person. It's like you loved them, and you miss them, and you're grieving their loss. So that's a normal grief. Complicated grief is when an abuser dies. So, like, for example, when my dad died, that's complicated grief. So not only did my siblings and I have to get through all the firsts, we had to deal with all of the tumultuous emotions that we had of hating him. We absolutely hated him. Are you kidding me? And yet there were parts of him that could be lovable, not very often, being angry at his nastiness and his abandonment and his neglect and his abuse. And yet he took us on trips every summer and, gave us a love of history. It's complicated. It's not straightforward. It's all squiggly lined and going this way, to the end game. So it's not straightforward. So straightforward grief is you love the person, they died. Complicated grief is you had a very complicated relationship with them. It was a love-hate relationship. And there's a lot of emotions, and there's love there, but there's also anger, and there's sadness, and there's fear, and there's, and it's a bunch of different emotions. So having to deal with and process with the abuse on top of the death makes it complicated. So that's what complicated grief is when an abuser dies, because you're going to have a whole bunch of different emotions dealing with the death of the abuser. Part of you is going to be relieved. So like, for example, my mom, she and I sat out on the couch and she was just in tears and she's like, "Oh, Chris, I feel so guilty." And I said, "About what?" And she's like, "I'm relieved he's gone." And I started laughing, which probably not the cool thing to do, but I started laughing because I was thinking the same damn thing. I said, "Mom, you're not alone. We are all very glad that he's gone. It could have been way different had he been sane, but he denied getting help at every turn and he had plenty of opportunities." So yeah, it's you're gonna feel relief when the abuser is dead. You're gonna be like, "Whoo, thank God they're dead." But then there's gonna be sadness and there's gonna be anger and there's gonna be other emotions, what if only, that kind of thing. But then you have to come back to reality. No, they were disordered. They were abusive. They didn't get help. They could have, they wouldn't. So yeah, that's complicated. So, and you get with a good therapist, work through it. That's the best suggestion I can give you. Okay. How do I help my kids when my ex is manipulating and alienating? Get them into therapy. Swear to God, listen to me now, believe me later. Get them into therapy. So when you're going through a divorce with an abuser of any kind, you want to make one of the stipulations is that the kids get to have therapy and you get to have final say. So the abuser doesn't just get to go pick somebody fresh out of school that doesn't understand parental alienation. You know what I'm saying? So get them into a therapist, get them a journal that they can keep safely at your home. Do not read that journal. That is their journal for them to have a safe outlet for them to vent. Hang on. So, and never badmouth the other parent, no matter how heinous they are. You never badmouth them because the kids are 50% them. So what you do want to do, though, is call out the behavior. That's not normal behavior, guys. Just want to let you know. That's not normal. That's not what normal parents do. You can call that out. Just don't call them crazy. Just don't, call them names or put them down or anything like that. But you can definitely call out the maladaptive behavior. And just assure the kids that you love them and point out manipulation. Oh, that's manipulative. That's not okay. And you can do that. That's okay. As long as you're not, oh, they're borderline. Oh, they're a narcissist. Oh, they're, you don't want to be doing that. You're not a doctor. Don't diagnose them is what I'm trying to say. So, but do call out the behavior. Well, that's manipulative and, et cetera, et cetera. And if the kids come back, so when kids come back from the ex, right, they often act out with the saner spouse because it's safer, because the sane spouse is not going to punish them, whereas the ex would. But what you have to do is if they're acting out with you, you have to say, buck stops here. You may be able to do that over at your ex, your dad's house, your mom's house, whatever. You're not doing that here. I will not tolerate that. You have the right to draw boundaries even with your own kids, and it's important. It really is important, especially if the ex is doing parental alienation and manipulation. So yeah, absolutely. Can you please explain borderline personality disorder psychosis? Okay. So in borderline personality disorder, the reason it is called borderline is because it has traits of all 10 major personality disorders and it borders on psychotic thinking. So when a borderline gets psychotic, they get ramped up in their own head about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. So they will literally jump from point A to point some other place else over on the other side of the continent because they're trying to keep themselves safe and they're making these associations that are not there. So a prime example I could give you of that one is years ago, I had a client that came in and was borderline. And I had suggested some books, and she had taken off her glasses and pulled the list right up to her face. So I thought, oh, okay, she's got some maybe some seeing disabilities. And I said, oh, also too, these books are all available on Audible. Okay. Not thinking that that was an insult in any way, shape, or form, she came unfreaking hinged. And I'm sitting here watching this woman just decompensate and start circling the drain simply because I suggested an Audible book that might make it easier for her. And of course, her ego got involved, and she was like, "You're inferring I can't see," and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, no, I'm just suggesting an Audible book in case you would rather listen to it, because some people learn better and some people have trouble reading, so if it would be easier for you. Nope, she took that as the opportunity to damn me for everything from what I was wearing to the time of day it was to the weather to just crazy. Didn't even make sense. I mean, it was word salad. It was complete word salad. And she was angry because I had noticed her learning disability or her reading disability. And of course, she had to be perfect. And because I had pointed it out by suggesting an Audible, she came unglued. And it was literally word salad for like 15 minutes at the top of her lungs. And I finally stopped her and I said, I'm not putting up with this. When you can behave like a normal human being, we'll continue. But other than that, you need to stop. And she never came back. And I was perfectly fine with that. But that is an example of psychotic thinking. It's like, it went from, here are some books that can help you. Oh, and they're on Audible in case it's hard for you to read. Because I noticed you pulled the book close to your face. To, word salad. How dare you, this, that, and the other thing, and the weather, and you, and you, and, and I'm just like, oh no, we're done. We are done. So yeah, that's an example of borderline psychotic thinking. It's like, there was no malintent by suggesting an Audible book, but she took it as malintent and ran with it, and it didn't even make sense. So, and in word salad. So when a borderline is off in psychotic land and they're doing the abuse, the screaming Mimi, abuse, it's you, and it's all word salad. It's very loosely strung together. It doesn't really make sense, but they keep making sure to bring it back to it's all your fault. So that's psychotic in BPD. Okay. I find myself constantly defending and over-explaining things. How do I stop? Self-esteem. People who love themselves do not over-explain. And it's helpful to remind yourself, I don't need to over-explain. I don't need to explain anything to anybody. Give yourself permission. Hi, good to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to stop explaining yourself to everybody. It's okay. So it's really hard for survivors of abuse, especially in the beginning, to not over-explain, because we've been trained by the enmesher, the abuser, to over-explain, to explain our every action and why we did this and why we did that, and to get into story. That's the big thing, is that abusers love for us to get into story because it's entertaining for them, number one. And number two, it's drama. It's all drama. So if you find yourself getting into story and, explaining and, acting things out and this, that, and the other thing, stop. You don't need to. You don't need to. You don't owe an explanation to anybody. This happened. Facts, figures, there we go. And you do want to get into that habit of facts, figures, there we go, especially if you are going to be going to court with one of these jackwagons, because the less you say in court, the better off you will be. The less that the opposing attorney will have to come back and pick at you. If somebody asks you a yes or no question, you give them a yes or no answer and you cut it off at that. You don't need to then go into story or then go into explanation. They're not asking for that. Don't offer anything more than that. So we go into story because we're trying to people please. We're trying to people please. So you got to stop yourself by reminding yourself you don't owe anybody an explanation for anything. You have a right to exist and you have a right to say no and not explain. So like if I say no to somebody and somebody goes, well, but why? And I'm like, oh, hell no. Because I said no, and either you honor that or you're out of my life. Period. It's amazing how people change their attitude with you when they realize you're not about to be manipulated and you're not about to explain yourself. So get into the habit of saying no. No, people are not going to like it, but the only people that don't like it are abusers. So keep that in mind. Okay, how are we doing on time? Okay. How do I counter a smear campaign on social media? You ignore it. You ignore it, unless, of course, they are doing something that is libelous or defamatory. And in that case, you get an attorney and you go after them, but only if it is provable that they are, defaming you, et cetera, et cetera. So abusers love drama. They live for it. They do. And they will do smear campaigns on social media. And anyone who is willing to believe the worst of you is not your friend. So anybody who is believing the abuser, siding with the abuser, those are flying monkeys, which means they're either ignorant and they don't understand how abuse works, or they are minor narcissists themselves, in which case, bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Have a nice life. Get them out of your life. So you don't even address it. You block every single one of these people that's agreeing with them. You block every single person that's spreading this stuff around. And you don't even address it. What they want is for you to respond so that they can keep the drama triangle going, which means villain, victim, and hero. You're the villain. Either they're the victim or the hero, and then whoever the third party is either the victim or the hero. So you want to step out of that. Let them have their little, catty BS that they're going to do on social media, unless, of course, they're defaming you. And if they're doing that, they're harming your career, they're harming your reputation, etc. Then you go after them legally. You betcha. Okay. My abuser and flying monkeys keep saying that abusers are your teachers. Why are they doing that, and how do I counter it? You have nothing to do with them. You absolutely have nothing to do with them. Okay, this is like a communal narcissist kind of thing. So the communal narcissist will put their targets of abuse through this absolute torture, right? To prove their loyalty, to prove their devotion to the cult or whatever. Oh, I'm teaching you. Oh, I'm teaching you how to suffer. I'm teaching you how to deal with pain, or whatever their BS is. So you just get away from them. That's not true. You don't need to abuse people to teach them. You absolutely do not. So anybody who's doing that, because they're trying to make it sound like they know something you don't, or that you should stay with the abuser. That's another thing I've heard. Oh, well, they're teaching you blah, blah. No, they're not. No, they're abusing. There you go. Be done. So anybody who supports an abuser, they're a flying monkey. Get rid of them. Any abuser that says, oh, I'm doing this for your own good. Oh, hello, Jim Jones, anyone? Hello. Killed 900 people. That's where we got the term drinking the Kool-Aid. He would put them through all sorts of horrible things and say it was for their own good. Same thing with David Koresh. Same thing with any of these cult leaders thingies. So yeah, no, you get out. Save yourself, get out, block the flying monkeys. They want to do that because they want to seem like they're in a position of one-up and that they know something you don't. So no, you don't have to put up with abuse. That is not teaching. That is not what good teachers do. Good teachers are kind. Good teachers are gentle. Good teachers are respectful. Good teachers lead by example. They never harm anybody, not intentionally. Absolutely not. These people harm intentionally. Absolutely. So anyway, I am losing my voice, so I'm going to cut it short today. So anyway, those are the questions that were left over from this week. Next week, I want to talk about sleep disturbances with PTSD. So in CPTSD, in PTSD, you get sleep disturbances. So that means like nightmares, night terrors, sleepwalking, sleep paralysis, excuse me, waking up in the middle of the night, or not being able to fall asleep. And the reason why this happens is, what do our abusers do to us? They terrorize us while we're with them, and they oftentimes prevent us from getting a good night's sleep. So I want to talk about how to counter that, how to start working on training yourself to get a good night's sleep, how to deal with the night terrors, how to deal with the nightmares, what to do, what not to do, all that sort of good stuff. So anyway, that's it. Have a great week, and I will talk to you on Sunday. Oh, and thank you to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. I am so happy. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. So betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. It'll be down in the description. online company. They're my sponsor. I'm so happy to have them as a sponsor. They're doing really good by my people, and I'm very pleased. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.